Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are welcome to another episode of the Diaspora Global Panel. With me today, I have Jude Unwa Okolo from Dublin and Anthony Heze from the United States. Today, we have a loaded package. We're going to talk about issues bordering on our nation, Nigeria. We are going to talk about, the redesign of our Naira. You see, the CBN just made an announcement that the president, Muhammadu Buhari, has agreed a 10-day extension, for Nigerians to swap the old Naira note to the new Naira note. Also, we're going to talk about the Osun election, the gubernatorial election that happened in Osun in 2022, and the outcome of the tribunal that sacked Governor Nuruddin Jackson Adeleke of the PDP. The tribunal held that Oyetola is the legitimate winner of the 2022 governorship election. But before we start, let's just have a weekly checkup. Tony, what is happening in the United States?
Yeah, it's a pleasure being here again today. We look forward to these episodes. There's not much happening. Once in a while we have our regular shooting, which has become as if it's the norm. But we are believing that God will control the vandals. As far as we are concerned, we believe that we need to stay focused, avoid going to the valley of death where you could be shot. Um, on Nigerian part, I think we are moving fine at that angle based on feedbacks from home, and we want that to continue.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tony. Jude, what is happening in Dublin?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Kunle. We're okay here. Everything is good weather. No complaints. Hoping for better weather tomorrow. Anyway, just like Ireland is a peaceful country where everyone wants to be. Harsh weather, but at the present, we're enjoying what we are seeing. Thank you
Yeah,
for that.
thanks a lot. Yeah, Canada is great. The weather is extremely tough right now. We've got snow everywhere. But aside that, things are looking good. The inflation is under control. Things are slowing down a bit. I think we are experiencing a corrective period of the surge in the housing market, and the economy is taking shape. Yeah, before we proceed, let's just have a short interlude and we will be right back. Yes, welcome back. Yeah, we are going to start with this heartbreaking news that happened in the Enugu Ebonyi border, where our security operatives, two soldiers and three policemen were killed, by gunmen, and this is coming, at the wake of the recent, bloodshed and violence that has characterized the southeastern region of Nigeria, leading to the presidential election of February 25, 2023. We just want to commensurate with the, family of those that were killed. May God grant you the fortitude to bear the loss. Tony, any short comment on this?
Yes, I join you in sympathizing with the family. This is a good eye opener of what's going to happen in the Southeast. So if the federal government want the election to be peaceful all over Nigeria, especially the Southeast, this is a timely warning because they are fully prepared. And then if they can overpower our soldiers, our policemen, who else can save us? So we believe that effort should be made to equip these boiling points in Nigeria with more soldiers, more police, so that the election will be free and fair.
Thanks a lot, Tony. Jude, any thought on this? The killings.
Right. Yeah. Like Tony said, the Southeast has gone through some really some saga, and it's time for this to end. And we help the federal government to assist in ending this issue of soldiers being killed, people being killed in Southeast. And I still ask the Southeasterners to actually work with the government to see how they can come out of this issue. It has been going on for a long time. Let there be peace in the Southeast. We are all Nigerians. We need peace, not only for this election, but for forever. What will be will be. Let them take it slowly and let everything come to pass. Not taking loss into anyone's hand, not just being aggressive for no reason. Just let it go the way it is. Work with the government and let government work with them. And so that we stop all these killings. We don't know where it's coming from, but we hope if everyone cooperates, there will be peace in the Southeast.
Yeah, thank you. That is our hope and that is our goal. Remember, Peter Obi is also contesting. This insecurity, violence will only do one thing, hurt Peter Obi. People will not come out to vote, and technically, it will be a disadvantage to Peter Obi.
Yeah.
Please, let's give peace a chance. Yeah, we are also following a development that happened, at Ojuelegba in Lagos. On Sunday, today, January 29, an articulated truck carrying a 20-foot container toppled on a commercial bus, killing 9 people. I've been following this story, and I must tell you that oftentimes I find myself, when I'm in Lagos, my car will probably, beside these containers. And that thing, usually it crosses my mind that hopefully this guy will not turn over. And the recklessness of these drivers, the truck drivers, really compound, the problems that pedestrians, innocent people, commercial vehicles, private vehicles are facing on our roads in Lagos. I just want to say, the family of those people, the families of the 9 people that died, may God Almighty, grant them the fortitude, the grace to bear this unfortunate loss. Tony, what do you have to say about this?
May their gentle soul rest in peace.
Amen.
You see, the problem is that if you stay in a country that is well organized, when you hear stories like this, you feel you feel bad, because most of these trailers are poorly maintained. In some foreign countries, you don't just drive anywhere you want to drive. Some special roads are located to these long trailers. But in the case of Nigeria, anything goes. We should learn a lesson from some of this tragedy to replan the use of our roads. If we continue to allow people to do the way they want, innocent life will be lost. And to the families, they should be encouraged to sue for, if not for that, a compensation for the lost life. It's not that they will be back to life, but at least they should be compensated financially for the people they left behind. It is very sad that people in Nigeria, they get their family members killed, no compensation is paid, and it's like you are closing down some families, because when the breadwinners are killed, what else do you want the rest of the family to do? May their gentle soul once again rest in peace.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tony. Jude, over to you.
Yeah, see, my own take here is that I live in Lagos nearly half of my life. I know Lagos very well. Ojuleba, I know very well about Lagos. I think the Lagos State government should actually make a route, call it a bus route, dedicated to the buses.
Yeah,
And
they actually have it. They actually have it now.
yeah, then institute a law that will make the trailers follow the bus route as well.
No, I'm thinking that to follow the bus route,
Yeah.
that might be increasing the risk. What do you
No,
think?
if they follow the bus route, pedestrians will be sure that only the bus route is being maintained by these long trailers and the buses, and they leave the other routes for ordinary Molue and the rest to go on. The reason is that Ojoleba is a very congested area, and the trailers in Nigeria are not monitored. They are not followed up. They give, it's like giving bribe and they move on. You see, it don't have to be like that. They move at any time they want to move. There should be a law by the Lagos State government to control these trailers who leave the ports through Ojoleba down to every other part of the country. Thereby, that's what I'm saying. In the main fact, why I said the bus route is that if they dedicate this bus route to the trailers to go and give them a specific time to follow, then if they violate that rule, there will be a fine for it, and that will bring sanity to that road, Ojoleba down to Ikorodu, down get what do you call it? Towards Ketu, towards down Ibadan. Yes. If there's still a law there that will hold these trailers going down there, if you control that movement from Ojoleba down to the Ibadan Expressway and down to the east, you see, it's too rough. That place is so rough. And people will keep on dying. No matter what we say here, people will die. It's a policy that the Lagos government have to maintain and find the trailers and give them time not to move out at a specific time. If they say the trailers should move out at night, let it be at night, not in the daytime. It's just like controlling them, and they will they will obey the rules and enforce orders where it's supposed to be. And we should not be here talking about condoling the families of these people that lost their life. If they control the trailers, they will maintain it, and it's going to be like that because the goods coming out from the ports every day from all over the world down to Lagos is too much. So people are bound to die. It's too much.
Thanks a lot, Jude. Yes. Jude, do you know why I said no? You know, it was just like an impulse. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I even said it because you see, here in the Western world, I have not seen where they conflict the bus route and the truck route. Okay, the bus route is usually dedicated for buses. Okay. Yeah. So that was why I said, and my thinking, I think our thought actually aligned in the sense that I was thinking that they can control the movement time. You see, when these trucks are going to move, okay, from a Apapa Port or whatever, you see, when they are going to move, you see, from the port, that could be controlled, and that will eventually, you see, ease up, all these things that we are seeing on the roads. And I want to say one thing: the Ojuelegba of those days is different now. You see, Ojuelegba has seen a tremendous facelift and a lot of the development and redesign. So I don't know the last time you went home, but Ojuelegba is a bit different now. It's just a tragedy that actually happened. The only thing we just have to say is that may God grant, the families the fortitude to bear the loss. We can only console them. And you are quite right, you see. On another level, you said that most of these trucks, maybe they violate the motoring code, motoring laws, motoring regulations. They don't have correct papers. They pay bribe and they go. You see, let's just hope that the authorities, you see, will see to this so that we have roadworthy trucks, vehicles on our roads. Yeah, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. And please help us share this program on your Facebook, your YouTube channel, your Instagram, and other social media that you have presence on. Yes, let's just move on to a topic, a story that is developing. And we on the Diaspora Global Panel are still watching. You know, the Naira swap deadline, January 31st, 2023. You know, CBN Governor Emefiele just came out to say that Buhari, the President Muhammadu Buhari, has approved a 10-day extension, you know, of swapping old Naira note to new Naira note. And he said that the major reason is because, you know, 75%, because the goal is to mop up, you know, extra money in the circulation that is outside the banking system. Because they realize that a lot of people, you see, ordered our banknotes. So the goal was to actually, or is to actually mop up those currency that are lying fallow in circulation. You know, they said this will reduce, you know, this terrorism. It will reduce election malpractices, you see, and a host of reasons they gave, you know. And Emefiele said that he met with President Muhammadu Buhari, and President Muhammadu Buhari agreed with him that, yes, there is need to extend by 10 days because he made the president aware that only 75% of the 2.5 trillion naira held outside the banking system has been recovered. I repeat, 75% of the 2.7 trillion naira held outside the banking system has been recovered. Wow. To me, when I read this, I said, wow, this policy is working. This policy is working. If they have been able to retrieve back 75% of 2.7 trillion, that means close to about 2.2 or 2 trillion naira has been recovered back into the banking system. Tony, what is your take on this? And the reason why I'm asking this is because, you know, the House of Rep, okay, the House of Rep members have rejected the CBN extension. We will get to that, you know, in a short while. But, you know, the revelation by Emefiele that 75% of 2.7 trillion has been recovered, I think it's big news. And what is your take on this, Tony?
All that glitters in Nigeria is not gold. By other way, it's not everything you hear in Nigeria that is true. In reality, if this is a real authentic story, we should give government of the day part of the back. Remember, this is not the first time Buhari administration has implemented this. So he's an expert and he always knows the goal. Through his previous military regime with Tundi Idiagbo, similar thing happened. So at this particular level, I think he knows that when you redesign or use any other way to mop up excess liquidity, that it turns out right. But what we are praying for is that,
Tony, it wasn't excess liquidity. Okay, these are money outside the banking system.
Yes. Why I said excess liquidity is that even the central can confirm that some of the money in
You
circulation,
you are correct, Tony. You are
we
correct,
are
Tony. I'm
not
not an economist. You are very correct.
exactly.
I'm very
We are
sorry.
not.
Yes, yes. It's
We
excess
are not
liquidity in
actually
circulation.
authentically produce the legal way in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So even when they say 2.7 trillion, maybe the one they think they can account for, because Nigerian system is where anything happens. People can print money outside, dump it into the system. They are highly connected with the banks, commercial banks. So what we are saying is that if this thing works the way the goal is set, it's a cheering news. But oftentimes they put woos over the Nigerian populace. When you go and try to authenticate some of this data, what flies up in the news does not really add up with what the earlier news we have heard. So we believe that in order to checkmate politicians, especially who ruin the country politically and financially during the election, they stock up this money, and that's how they lobby people, that's how they bribe people. If they cannot shortchange them, and then we have enough security, the future election may be free and fair, because it's only when you bribe, pay thugs heavy amount of money to cause mayhem, we always come out with results we are not sure of what we got. Most of the thing, you find out that if we follow the law, the House of Reps, like you said earlier on, is contesting probably the amount of withdrawals. If things happen the way it should happen, we should pay attention for what the act that produce some of the dealings of the central bank. We need to follow the law. Nobody is above the law in Nigeria. If the act of the parliament say this is the way the CBN should operate, it should be that way. We should not take Nigeria out of the norms. And that's why both military and civilian government, oftentimes they don't follow the constitutional norms. So where we are now is that we believe that they've acted in good faith, let it be so, and then effort should be made to get in the remaining money out there, and then checkmate politicians from playing on intelligence of Nigerians. Because oftentimes when they give this extension, money from nowhere will be flying in. But for now, we can give them a pat on the back.
Yeah, Tony. I'm very sorry to have said that they weren't trying to mop excess liquidity. You are very correct. They were trying to. They are trying to mop up excess liquidity, but actually the intrinsic reason, okay, is actually different from what we know in the general economic sense, which is okay. We want to control inflation. Okay, so we want to mop up extra money in circulation by selling treasury bill and whatnot to ensure that we don't have excess money, so that too much money will not be chasing few goods, you know. But actually, what I was trying to say is that the reason behind this action of the CBN, okay, is to mop up illegal, illicit, stolen naira in the homes of these fraudulent people, to mop it back, to bring them back into the banking system. So you are very correct, Tony. I was only talking about the underlying reason why the CBN did this. It wasn't because of inflation or whatever, but it's just solely because they know that people have stolen money and they are hiding money in water tanks. They have buried money. They have done all that. And Jude, over to you. What is your take on this?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kunle. Yeah, sure. I think the CBN, they have actually worked hard with the federal government, with Buhari's backing behind them. Actually, I've been monitoring the monetary system for the last 3 months, and we can see that the system is working because by now we have expected the Naira to have risen over $1,000, but it still goes in between 700 to 800. for the past 1 or 2 months when we have this problem of excess money in the system. And it's now proving that CBN has recovered 75% of that excess money back to the system. That means that that means that what the CBN is working towards is working. That means that the administration is actually looking into the government, what's happening into Nigerian money. Because if there's too much inflation here, Nigeria is going to suffer. So Naira is getting stability by this kind of recovery. And that means that we have to give the CBN more time to proceed in their agenda, not bringing these people, Mefele, trying to put him to too much panel, too much court cases to see why he's doing this. There's a reason behind it. The government is working behind him, and it is working out. Stability is coming to the system. By now, Naira would have crashed. We have seen countries whereby their currency have reduced to nothing. You can look at the case of Ghana and so many other countries. The currency has become nothing. So if they don't checkmate it, they're going to be like that. So let us give them more time rather than scrutinizing Emefiele. Just know that Emefiele is working with the federal government, with Buhari, to stabilize the Naira towards the next dispensation, which is being next people coming into the next government. And the result is showing here. And the World Bank, APAS Bank, they're all looking at what's happening in Nigeria. And they're happy with it because would have gone to the drain that within 2 weeks, there will be a lot of hunger in Nigeria. But monitoring it in this sense works a lot. Give the Mefele a chance to go on with it. Don't forget that we're in a period of election. Things have to be controlled so that we have a stabilized election. So all these cases of him, people are looking for him here and there, should stop because the man backing him is the president of Nigeria, and he has his full backing. Let him work. Let him work for the interest of all Nigerians. That's what I think.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. And that is true because I think that our Naira has become more stable, since this law was passed or since this policy was actually passed. And I think you are correct. And on the bottom of the screen, we could see, as I mentioned before, that the House of Representatives actually rejected this. And what they said was that, you see, they want the CBN to, comply, full compliance with Section 20, subsection 3, 4, and 5 of the CBN Act. You see, they said that as it is right now, the central bank, hasn't really complied, totally with the act, with the CBN Act. And in fact, they are threatening, you see, to actually charge Emefiele to court. Because, and then many of them are saying that, they should extend, the swapping period, that the period is too short. And they are saying that, there's so much pressure on the bank and the POS centers because of this limited time, that every Nigerian must be given the opportunity to exchange their old Naira note for the new Naira note. They are even suggesting that they should extend for another year. Okay, and they also have something against the cashless policy. And we know that CBN is trying to reduce, the amount of cash in circulation. And as a result, they passed the cashless, policy of 2022 that basically states that individuals and businesses can only withdraw 100,000 Naira and 500,000 Naira respectively from the banking hall. You see, as we can see, that is very, very small. What the House of Rep are really complaining about. And I dug into the sections of the CBN Act that they were talking about. They said section 3, 4, and 5. And I think that in section I think in section 3 it says that if if there will be a change, maybe a redesign of the currency, that people should be given, it says that if directed to do so by the president, and after giving reasonable notice in that behalf, to call in any of its notes or coins on payment of the face value thereof, and any note or coin with respect to which a notice has been given under this subsection shall, on expiration of the notice, cease to be a legal tender. So what they are saying is that reasonable notice that the notice given by the CBN is not reasonable. Basically, Tony, what is your take on this? Do you think the notice given by the CBN is reasonable? Because, and I have my take, I think it's extremely unreasonable. And I also think that they didn't factor people in the diaspora. Because for me, I have some Naira note, because I do keep a little bit of money so that when I travel home, I would have some Naira to spend immediately for my immediate needs. Maybe to take a cab, maybe to do what not, to buy credit, blah, 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 blah. And this Naira now is just sitting in my house here. And obviously, if I don't change it, and I don't have any way to change it, if I don't change it by the February 10th deadline, the Naira notes that I have will cease to be a legal tender. So I think that the notice has not been reasonable, in my own opinion. Jude, over to you. I mean, Tony, sorry.
Okay. Before I answer this question, that section, did he specify what a reasonable period should be?
No. It didn't.
Okay.
It didn't.
Okay. You see, this is a lesson to lawmakers in Nigeria. If you have an ambiguous law, you're gonna pay the price. In most developed countries, they're gonna give you 6 months period, 3 months period, 1 year period. If you did not specify what a reasonable period should be, then you take the blame. Personally, I support the extension, but the House of Reps, who has an ambiguous law, will not be able to implement it, because the president sometimes has what you call executive order, that if you make a loophole through ambiguous law, they can take advantage of that. Now, we know that the CBN is trying to introduce cashless policy, whereby...
No, they have introduced it in 2022.
Right. Which they are trying to reduce the amount of cash we carry about. To a reasonable extent, in a well-informed and educated society, that is the current in thing. Because of sometimes robbery and all that, people know that you only have credit card in your house. The thought of coming to rob you to get a lot of cash will be minimized. I will support extension, knowing that there are people who are living in suburbs who don't have access to a lot of banks around them. It's going to take time. All the traders you have in rural suburb, they may not have enough banks within a period to be able to push in their money. But the good news is that at least they've been able to frustrate those who have fake currencies. If you have fake currencies, the extension is not for you. Because when you submit the money and it's not a legal tender by the federal government, I mean, people who are going to print money outside, we have a second thought. So the CBN, we will encourage them with this extension and make sure that people have access. Because one time you extend, and still people go and sleep in these banks to be able to exchange their own currency. So they should provide adequate facilities so that people will be able to effectively remit their money. Extension is one thing. Making provision for the facility to make it work is another thing. When we learn some of these foreign policies, we should be able to know what they do, the daily implementation of such policies. Not just probably it's done in US, in Britain, you decide to implement it in Nigeria, where sometimes you don't have NEPA working 24 hours. So most of these things, we should look at the peculiar situation the Nigerian citizens have themselves in.
Yeah. Jude, yeah, what is your take on this?
Yeah, sorry. So what I'm trying to say here is this. Let's look at the issue of a legal tender. A legal tender is the money you brought into a place and you want to buy with it. You want to go shopping and they accept it in the shop you went to. In this case of CBN, it's quite different. If CBN says that money has to be exchanged in the bank, fine, and they give a cap to that, for me, it's right. If you cannot shop with the money,
give a cap to withdrawal, not
yeah,
not for you to go and exchange.
so for instance, in your own case, if you go to Nigeria, you have 100 Naira notes or 500,000 Naira notes. You cannot shop with it in a shop. You cannot buy petrol with it. But you can take it to the bank and deposit it, and they will accept it.
No, you can't anymore, because that is the ultimatum. The ultimatum was January 31st, but it's now been extended to February 10. So
As
any
a-
new note,
As a
any
legal,
new note,
as a legal, you know what I'm saying? As a legal tender,
yes.
you cannot use it in the shop.
No, you can use it. You can use it. What they are saying, Jude, let me try to explain this. Is that okay? The legal tender, the old currency is still a legal tender right now, and the new currency, the new redesigned, is also a legal tender. Now in Nigeria, we have two legal tenders.
Yeah,
the old and new. Okay, but come February 10th, the old one will cease to become a legal tender.
Yeah, that's my point. That's my point.
You cannot take it to the bank anymore. It's gone.
No, that's what I'm saying here. That's the mistake I'm trying to put here. If it's a legal tender in a shop or in a mall or to exchange goods for money for goods in the public, it's accepted. But after that, if you have this money and you want to spend it, you take it to the bank, deposit to your account, and they give you a new note. They
they won't anymore. Tony,
are
you following Jude? Please,
as it's done here, as it's done in this part of the world, if they call a money a legal tender, that means you cannot spend it, because it has happened in my own case, whereby
are you saying illegal or legal?
Legal tender, you cannot spend the money in a mall or in a shop, but when you bring the money to the bank can exchange that money. They will lodge it to your account as money that you have brought in, but then you cannot use that money to shop. You cannot withdraw that money in the proper format, in the new tender, and spend it in the shop. So it doesn't mean that the money is banned in the public. The money is only cannot be used legally to buy goods, to exchange hands, but the bank will still accept that money when you bring it into them.
Jude,
there are two different things here. Legal tender is when you present a money that has been banned from spending in the public, but when you take it to the bank will say, this is our money. 5 years ago, we have this money. Okay, you want to deposit to your account? Fine. So, for instance, if you bring $1 million, 1 million Naira that has been illegal tender, it was a legal tender, you cannot spend that money in the mall. But when you take it to the bank will accept that money and lodge it to your own account.
Okay,
and
Jude.
You cannot receive that money in a legal tender.
I think Jude is only a computer scientist. He's
Jude
is not an economist.
You see, the point I'm trying to make here is that
Jude is not an economist. Let's just listen.
I know. I'm trying to make a point here because it has happened to me.
Let Tony say something.
Tony, go ahead.
You can check can check the information page.
Okay, Jude. You see, we should not make the mistake of comparing developed countries with African countries. You see, they do their own differently, and they are backed by law. Okay? Our own is that oftentimes the laws are made, but they are not obeyed. In the case of Nigerian system, after February 3rd, February 10, you can neither spend that money or submit it to any bank. It ends both going to the mall to buy anything. No bank will accept it again, although it's a legal tender. But after February 10th, it's no more a legal tender. Okay? So,
right.
Legal tender in the real sense is legitimate currencies and notes produced by a country. Okay? But they have the right, when it is redesigned, to withdraw the old notes. So if you bring in the old notes after February 10, it will not be acceptable in anywhere, both in
anywhere. So
both
it
in
ceased
bank
to be
and your shopping mall will not be accepted again, because it's no more a legal tender.
Even the bank is not going to accept.
Yes.
So it doesn't happen here.
Yeah,
no, it depends on the policy.
Yeah,
it depends on the policy.
Your own country is different from
different.
African country. So what happened there does not happen. Remember, we are talking to Nigerian audience mostly. So what happened in Nigeria is what we need to kind of let them know and follow up, rather than what happens in the United States or Canada. No, this is what the federal government wants. And as a result, any person who have money both abroad, we should make adequate effort to see how somebody can exchange it. For example, there are some people in America here who maybe they travel with Naira notes. Oftentimes, what they do is that maybe somebody pays they exchange it across currency line. You understand what I mean? So basically, if you have anything, or you have any person who have old notes, they need to either spend it or send it to the bank on or before February 10.
Yeah, based on what you said, if that's the law in Nigeria, it's accepted by it should be accepted.
Yeah, and that is what the National Assembly is saying, that they should still extend it by about a year to ensure that everybody that has money, you see, can actually bring it to the bank at any time within a year and exchange it to the new note. But the National Assembly, to me, I'm thinking, because election is coming, and what Buhari is trying to do is to ensure that this money does not remain in circulation, come February 25, February 25, 2023, the day of the election. Because a lot of money has been stashed, hidden outside the banking system that people want to use, to rig.
Yeah, in that case, I go with Buhari.
The election. Buhari is saying we will only grant, 10 days extension. But why me? I am against what they have. I'm not against what they have done. It's a fantastic policy, but the duration is very limited. And I'm
not against the duration. I'm
saying. Excuse me, let me finish. I would have thought that the policy should have been brought in much more earlier. Much more earlier. I am in support that before February 25, any money outside the banking system, old currency must cease to be a legal tender. Must be burnt. Waste must become waste. Okay? So that is my position. But I'm thinking that they should have
let me tell you
that law. They should have brought in that law much more earlier to give people ample time, because If you go to Nigeria now, the banking hall is crowded.
Let me tell you something about this.
Yeah.
President Buhari is committed to a stable election, and he wants people to vote for the right candidate. And he has been saying it for over 6 months now, over 1 year.
No. When was the policy brought up?
No, I agree with you.
It's not about saying, it's about when the policy.
Yes.
You cannot introduce a policy and give 4 months.
It took people by surprise, which
that's what I'm saying.
If you stack money for election and you want to use to rig election, he doesn't want that. He wants people to vote according to what they want to vote without any interference from any angle, monetary wise or whatever. And he's committed to it, and he has allowed Emefiele to do this, and he's backing Emefiele full time on this policy. And myself personally, I support his policy based on this election.
Yes. Listen, it's the current political elites that put us into the trouble where we are now. When they are talking about extension, they are not talking for the average Nigerians. It's for their own purpose. So I support limited extension, because when you see them cry out, you think they are crying for the masses. No. They have put us in this dirty position where we find ourselves, and they're trying for 1 year so that they will be able, all the money they stack for election lobbying and rigging, so that it will be used. Let's give government the support so that they implement what is already done.
Okay, Tony, let me say this, okay? And on the final note, for me, if you guys have any other comments, we are free to do so. But on a final note for me, this is what I'm saying, okay? Because you have just said it, that the people that put us into this mess are the political elite. And when they are talking about extension, they are not talking about the common people. Let me tell you, the common people are bearing the brunt. The only thing this thing does for the political elite is that they will not have money to rig anymore, which I support. But I'm saying that, let's say the policy had been around since February of last year. This will prevent the crowdiness, okay, of the banking hall, the pressure on the POS centers. You know, it will prevent a lot of things, because let me tell you, the political elite are changing the money like this. The only thing it does for them is that they won't have money to spend to rig election. But these people, they don't go to the bank to change. Go and see the queue. You will pity the average Nigerian. You will pity them. How they are being flogged on the bank, in the banking hall, by police, by whatever, or the security, you see, trying to keep sanity. Because these people they are afraid that, listen, this money I have, let me tell you, I have somebody that visited the banking hall 5 times, visited the bank 5 times before he was able to change. And then he couldn't even change by himself. Somebody had to help him. Somebody had to help him to change. So that is what we are saying. You see, I love what has happened, but this should have started a long time ago. And I think we are conflicting it. What I am saying, we are kind of conflicting it with the fact that probably 1 year, I want it extended beyond February 2025. No. I don't even want it. It must not, you see, the policy or the period to swap the old note to the new note must not go beyond February 10. I think that's a fantastic and wonderful policy.
Noted.
Yeah, Jude. So are you okay with that?
Yeah. You analyze it, which is fine. That's fine. Yeah.
Yes. So let's go to the elephant in the room, the Osun governorship election. how Adeleke, Governor Nuruddin Jackson Adeleke, was dumped by the tribunal. The tribunal that heard the case of Oyetola versus Adeleke sided with Oyetola and said that, yes, truly, there was serious overvoting in the last governorship election. Tony, do you want to start this section, or do you want me to give Jude a chance to start?
Whichever option is okay by me.
Jude, I wanted to take it on because you were saying something about the benefit of beavers, BVAS, which is the bimodal voter registration system that the INEC introduced, in conjunction with the election result viewing portal, IREV. Those two technologies, they said, are important for transparency and the credibility of future elections in Nigeria. Jude, do you think Beavers has done its job?
Thank you, Dr. Conley. For the first time, I'm seeing what I don't believe that can happen in Nigeria. But before I say that, I will also say that INEC should not be in a hurry to issue a certificate of office for any office being contested. They should give a period of at least 3 months for any contest that will come out of it. Because the reason is this: if you have announced somebody as a governor of a state, and after 3 months or 2 months, you come back and say you're no longer the governor or a president, or he's already sitting on the seat, it's going to cause a lot of havoc. So after the election is done, give a grace period of 3 months before you now say you are the rightful owner of this seat. That's what I would advise the Nigerian government to do. Now, in the case of this issue we are talking about, we have seen beavers played a very important role, because what happened here in this case is that the courts have they just all they need is the evidence from INEC, credible election, how it's been done, show all the proof through beavers. Okay, if somebody voted through beavers, he must be accredited before he votes. For instance, if you go to a police station, your name has to be in the register, and they have to be an officer approving that you are there and approve you, then you can go and vote.
And you thumbprint.
You thumbprint.
Beavers will also capture your thumbprint.
Capture you, and they see that this guy has come in to vote and is being marked as being here, then you can proceed to vote, rather than walking into the office and vote and walk away. Now, in the case of this guy, of this election we're talking about, there are some people who voted for this governor who were not accredited, even though they have the certificate to vote, but it's not fully accredited by beavers to as candidates. So the tribunal have to ask for evidence from INEC, and INEC have to bring all this proof that these are the people who have registered to vote, and they found out that there was overvoting from the governor. And
no, it mightn't be, excuse me, Jude, it mightn't be from the governor alone. But what they just realized was that there were overvoting in many polling stations.
Exactly.
But they could not pinpoint, you see, who got those votes.
Exactly.
Whether it was Adeleke or Oyetola. So what the tribunal just did was just to expunge. They expunged the polling unit from the figures or the collation of election results.
Exactly. And they never made it, there was no hanky-panky there. It was on record. And what they have decided was based on the record. And They are right because they are working according to the record. So that's what we are saying. Are we going to blame INEC for this? Are we going to blame the voters for that? We don't know where the voters who have overvoted in one way or the other, where the fault is from. But from the record, the
Now
tribunal
overvoting
they
in
overvoted.
many polling units.
Exactly. And we don't know where it's going to lead now because they're going to proceed this case to appeal court, then to Supreme Court. So that's going to be an extension of this issue. We don't know where it's going to be. But you see, we are coming to a presidential election next month. This is an eye-opener for INEC and for our viewers that before you vote, make sure you are being accredited by Beavers. You are certified to vote. If not, if you go there and vote, we are not certified, you are just wasting your time. Better than stay at home, don't vote at all. Because this election, we're expecting a lot of court cases coming out of this because people are going to come out of court and say, we know we have a lot of supporters, but how come this party won? And it's going to be a court case all through.
Okay, let's bring Tony in. Tony, now, if you, I made a clarification earlier. I said the person that got those votes, okay, there was no way except they do a deeper analysis, you see, for them to figure out, okay, it was so and so person that got that vote. But I am saying this, that the tribunal did not mention who got those votes, but they just expunged the figures from those polling units. Okay? And why it affected Adeleke, the PDP candidate who was sworn in as the governor, is that it happened in his stronghold, in all his strongholds. So the view is that, the impression is that, yes, you guys did overvoting. And however, this is where I'm going, Tony. Tony, are you on?
Yes.
This is, it appeared as if you were frozen for a sec.
Okay.
Yeah, this is where I'm going here. Okay.
Okay.
I'm saying that it is possible that there were people that were not accredited by Beavers that voted in the strongholds of Oyetola. However, they ensured that those votes did not exceed the accredited people. I don't know. I'm just putting it there.
Okay. First of all, before I comment, let me read out from one of Nigerian newspapers as reported by one Sadiq Omoloye from Abuja. He opined that this is the way he read it. Delivering his judgment, the tribunal led by Justice Tess Kume heard that the governorship election was characterized by overvoting, adding that after deducting the excessive votes, Oyetola's figure rose to 314,921 votes, while Adeleke's came down to 290 to 66. So from this judgment, it was obvious that there were some kind of overvoting. Where did they come from? So, but we should look at these incidents not 100% negatively. It is a preparatory avenue for the next presidential election, so that INEC should be able to see the mistake that happened in Osun State and see how they will correct it in upcoming election. Most of the new ideas we borrow from abroad, like I said before, oftentimes we don't have enough facilities, skills, and training to implement them. But our beavers would have been a saving grace for Nigeria. But it's welcome that it happened in this kind of situation, so that if INEC will do their homework, make some corrections, we will not see this thing happening again. But if we don't do anything, this is exactly how the next election will come out. And we don't want to create a lot of gaps. I heard Jude saying governor should not be sworn in until after 3 months. You can't create a vacuum. There are specified dates for all new governors to be sworn in. And you can't say, okay, because you want to prohibit this kind of repeat occurrence where somebody has served in as a governor for 3 months and you kick him out. No, every other thing is for INEC to do their homework. These are bound to happen. All new governors, legislators, and all that, they have a specified date to be sworn in. Whatever comes after that, it's okay, it's expected. We see now that from this thing dragging on in Osho State, it will bring governance to a standstill. Because I can assure you the Adeleke's camp already notify of the appeal. They may go to a court of appeal. The other party will appeal again. They end up in Supreme Court, which can last for 6 months or more. And what this continues, they don't pay attention to governance. It's like, let's fight and get the position first before we move ahead with the activities of the government. So, for me, I look at it in a positive direction, that this is what we want to know. It's like when you are a lawyer and they send you to a law firm to have some clinical so that you know when you come and how you need to practice. So to me, I look at this as a training ground. Let's take it in good faith. Let INEC do some correction.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, Tony, before I came to you, I gave a scenario. I was thinking that you were going to pick it up. But you didn't. The scenario was that let's say that probably they were overvoting, but we didn't know whom the votes went for. Okay. It's possible that they were overvoting in the stronghold of Oyetola as well. But they actually ensure that the vote, did not exceed the maximum number of accredited voters. That scenario will never happen because of beavers. It will never happen because the beavers is going to capture the registered voters, because on that day you go, you present your voters card, they do their whatever, okay, and you turn print, then they will give you your voters slip for you to now whatever. So what happened in Osun is that the number of people that went through the beavers that turn printed and they were given the voter slip is less than the slip that beavers recorded, okay, giving out, okay, was less than the slip counted as votes. That was the major problem, and that was why, in disproving what Oyetola presented, okay, the Adeleke camp said the first aspect is that the overvoting in 750 polling units as claimed by Oyetola APC in their petition is false. Is false overvoting created by the incomplete data of beavers based on the unsynchronized beavers report. They are saying that basically the overvoting was false because at the time that they expunged their report, the beaver system had incomplete data. They said that this does not represent what is on the beaver's machine itself and the forms EC8A. The correct result is as captured in the synchronized beavers report, which tallies with the data on the beaver's machine itself. In a nutshell, what they are saying is that there was no synchronization of the various BVAS machines, they were distributed to the polling unit, that if they kind of, you see, examine or expunge the report, or retrieve report from the individual BVAS systems, that it would tally with what is on the form. I think they said form EC8A, which were the forms given of the votes counted. They give it to the agent. Okay, in this polling unit, this is what APC scored, this is what PDP scored. Okay, sign it and certify that you witnessed it. Okay?
Yeah.
So this, I don't know how it's going to play, if that is true, that once they do a synchronization, things would be corrected. And as you said, they are still going to appeal court, and they will go to the Supreme Court. We cannot say how this is going to end. But before you come in, Tony, I want you to hold your comment a bit, because I want you to comment as well on this news that the tribunal upheld the fact that Adeleke forged his secondary school's result. They upheld it, that this guy forged his secondary school's result. However, the only reason why they refused, to disqualify him based on that is because he obtained further legitimate qualifications. That because of that, they will just overlook the forgery he committed. And the forgery is basically, Adeleke presented the result from Ede Muslim High School, dated, presented a letter of attestation from Ede Muslim High School dated 22nd of May, 2016. And the tribunal, what they said, let me just quote, he said that learned counsel of the petitioners, as earlier stated, the petitioners are, Izoyetola and the deputy, as earlier stated, referred to the different names in the schools reproduced above, and the evidence admitted by RW2 under cross-examination. The Osun State was created in 1991, and as such, any evidence that a qualifying certificate or document stating that it was from Osun State in 1981 is a forgery. They said Adeleke committed forgery. So, over to you.
Yeah, let me back up to the earlier on about overvoting and all that. I think that is a very good ground for appeal. They will be able to go into the nitty-gritty of what you have said. And like I said, this is a good homework for the INEC. INEC, I understand, are in charge of the BVAS machine and all that. This is a learning lesson for them. Whatever came out of this case, they will be able to look into it so that we won't have a repeat occurrence. To Governor Adeleke, I understand that when you probably lose your certificate and you go to some of these schools, kind of attestation letter, if you are not careful enough, they assume, for the mere fact that you are now in Osun State and the school is still in Osun State, that they will put the current state, rather than remembering that Osun State was not in existence. So I think it's an error rather than full-fledged forging. Because if the attestation would have realized that the school, although it was in existence at that time, but was previously under Oyo State, I'm privileged to be around when Osun State was created. If we were the last batch to have our youth service in Ede before Osun State was created, youth service Ede camp. Okay, so if you are not very careful when you are picking up some of these important documents, you need to be aware of history of the school and where it has been Otherwise, you put yourself in trouble. So to me, I will look at it as a kind of omission. And that's why probably the tribunal did not want to really look it hard on Adeleke. And all we believe is that the coming election should not be like Osun State election. Let us move up to a higher level.
Yes, thanks a lot. Jude, do you have any closing remark as well?
Well, what I'm trying to say here is that Beavers is actually working because it's electronic. There's no how they can prove that those that voted that they said is excess voting is not recorded by Beavers. It's not possible. It's electronic. You see, we are into computer world, and we know that when things are work in a electronic manner, it's registered, everything is done perfectly. And INEC has gone deeply to produce the evidence to show that the people that voted are these people, and they are presented to the tribunal. So there's no way unless you want to blame INEC, but you are blaming INEC for no reason. It's not an INEC issue. It's just for us to educate our voters who are going to vote for the next election that they should make sure they have full accreditation to vote. Not walking in to just throw your paper in and walk away. No, make sure you are accredited before you vote so that your vote can be counted. That's all about. Because we can see here that Beavers is really working. All we need to do is to follow the rules and make sure you follow the rule and go through what it takes to become an accredited voter, and you vote in. If Beaver is not really working, this could have been a nonsense issue we're talking about here. It's only Beaver that gave all this information, and we see openly how it works. So we can rely on Beavers if only Nigerians can obey the rules of Beavers, make sure they are accredited before they vote. That's all I can say.
Yeah, thank you. And then I must say that in the past, cases like these are very difficult to prove because, Beavers has actually helped us, to bring this into light. Yes, we have come to the end of today's program, to the discussion segment of today's program.
Just hold on a bit.
Yeah.
I wanted to. My screen was knocked out.
No. Your screen is good.
Yeah,
your screen is good. We are seeing you.
But rather, I'm not seeing you.
Yes, don't worry about that. So you can just step in. We will let you know.
Okay.
We are seeing you. So we have come to the end of the discussion program. I think Tony is worried that we are not seeing him because he's going to come in now to deliver the health tips, the 5 minutes health tips that we promised our viewers that we will be having during our program. Over to you, Tony.
All right. Like we said in our last program, we will be giving some health tips at the end of our program. We are not experts, and we always have a caveat that whatever you hear on these health tips, you must confer with your primary doctor who knows your medical history in order to implement any of them. That's what we usually say. And we make sure that all the herbal messages you are getting, you need to report it to your primary doctor. Now, today on medical checkup, we look at hypertension. The first question will be, is hypertension curable? The answer is no. So if you are a pastor or your herbal advisor is telling you that hypertension is curable, it is putting your life in danger. Hypertension is not curable. You only control the signs and symptoms of hypertension in order not to develop the complications of hypertension. What are the complications of hypertension? You have heart attack or stroke. You have heart failure. You have kidney problem. You have eye problem. You have changes in memory and understanding. So what this means is that On a yearly basis, you should be able to contact your doctor so that he will refer you to check your eye, go to the lab, check your kidney, and make sure you take your medication. One of the worst problem you get with hypertension, especially men, is medication non-compliance. Because one of the most biggest side effects, especially for men who are still sexually active, is low libido. As a result, most men cannot have adequate erection. As a result, they will not want to take their medication frequently. You must take your medication, otherwise, you are going towards complications. Now, most of us in Nigeria who may not be have adequate access to doctors, there are things you need to do apart from taking your medication. There are things you need to do to make sure you keep your blood pressure under control. Take, for example, you need to have adequate exercise. And before you exercise, like we said, your primary care doctor must check you out whether uh, your condition is good enough for exercise. He should be able to recommend one for you. Now, you need to monitor your diet. Those who have high blood pressure should lower their sugar or eat without sugar. Sorry, salt, I mean to say, because it helps to increase our blood pressure. Now, you need to maintain your weight. You need to lose your weight because overweight adds to complications. Again, most of Nigerians are highly stressed. You think about how to get money to eat. You have to think about school fees. So we go into a lot of stress. Equally contribute to excessive hypertension. You should limit the intake of alcohol. You should stop smoking. These are the contributing factors. So when you go on this your yearly checkup, these are the some of the areas you need to monitor, like checking your um, the kidney, the eye, and some other area that hypertension leads to complication. So in summary, do not be deceived by anybody that tells you that hypertension is curable. Do what it takes to remain in a good blood pressure range.
Thanks a lot, Tony. Blood pressure. Thank you. This is something that is affecting a lot of Nigerians. And we hear about our friends, some of our friends, relatives, just slumping and dying. And we see it all the time on the TV, we hear it in the news. So I think this is very relevant. And the topic you handled today is going to resonate with a lot of people. Thank you so much for sharing, Tony.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, we have come to the end of today's program. We want to thank our viewers for joining us. We want to thank Tony from the United States and Jude Unwa-Okolo from Dublin. You have done a wonderful job today, to address the wide range of topics that we have for our viewers. Thank you. And to our viewers, we want to appreciate you for joining us. Please subscribe to our channel, give us a like, and please share this program on your social media pages. I am Olakunle Lemboye, joining you from Canada. See you again next time.